Hey guys, welcome to Dead End Street. I'm Al. Tonight we are picking up where we left off with the top 25 albums of the year series. Now we're on to 1974, which will be the last of the 70s, I think. Maybe I'll do 75 before the winter's over, because then I'm going to pick back up with 89, and we're going to move on to the 90s in the spring. Um, but this is one of the best, one of the I want to say the best. It was a very good year, and it was really hard. I mean, my top ones were very easy to pick what was going to be. But from like maybe like 9 to 25, 10 to 25 was really hard to pick what order to put this in. So let's just get right into it. Number 25 for me is going to be Sally Can't Dance by Lou Reed. Lou kind of poo-poos this album. I don't get it because I like it like quite a bit. It's kind of straight up rock, which is little bit of a change from the last album, Berlin, which was kind of, really dark and brooding. Um, but there's some really good tracks on here, like Ride Sally Ride and New York Stars. Probably one of his two better tracks from the 70s. Number 24 is going to be Queen 2. Um, this is kind of like the least known, least played, least albums of theirs from the 70s that gets any kind of attention. I For me, it's close to the top when it comes to Queen. It's like the darkest and the meanest the Queen would get pretty much ever. Um, it has March the Black Queen on it, which to me is top three Queen song of all time, which is kind of like the evil precursor to Bohemian Rhapsody, but I kind of think I like it better, to be honest with you. Number 23 is going to be Kimono My House by Sparks. It's kind of hard to find a band that's more fun than Sparks. This is the first Sparks record that I ever heard. I've been following them ever since I heard this record. It contains some of their most known songs and some of their best songs too. This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us. It's probably their most known. Well, maybe it isn't. Number One Song in Heaven might be their most known in the States. But anyway, I digress. Lost and Found is a very good song on here, and it has one of my all-time favorite Christmas songs on here is Thank God It's Not Christmas. Number 22 is Get Your Wings, the second record by Aerosmith. Much darker, much moodier, a little bit more flavor than the first Aerosmith record. Steven Tyler starting to find his vocal confidence and attitude that was kind of a little bit missing on the first album, for the exception of maybe Dream On. Um, but this one has some of my all-time favorite Aerosmith tracks. For me, Aerosmith was really only from 73 to 79. I mean, that might even be pushing it for me. Um, so does contain Lord of the Thighs, possibly my favorite Aerosmith track, Seasons of the Wither, and SOS. Number 21 is Phenomenon by UFO. And so this is the first album after, this is the third UFO record. And it's the first one where they decided to go straight hard rock, kind of leave the blues based jammy stuff behind. And they bring on a 18-year-old German phenom named Michael Schenker, um, who I really think when it comes to hard rock guitar playing, especially what became 80s guitar for metal and hard rock, I think that Michael Schenker might be the most underrated player. Him and Uli John Roth from Scorpions, probably the two most underrated guitarists. You listen to stuff that's on this record and you hear shit that Eddie Van Halen was doing like 4 years later, and this is just a kid. Um, but anyway, on this album, you have two of the great UFO tracks in Doctor Doctor and Rock Bottom. Rock Bottom is really great if you want to hear some great guitar playing by Michael Schenker. Number 20 is The Psychomoto by Cockney Rebel. This is their second record. Um, um, and this is kind of like still the sound of a young band trying to find their feet, their footing. Unfortunately, most of the band would leave after this record. Ritz is also a great song. The descending riff and the unique use of harmonica and sax on the track Cavaliers um, is probably makes it the biggest standout on the record. Number 19 is No Other by Gene Clark. Um, Not sure how many people are familiar with this one. I think it's much more known now than it ever was when it was out, when it was first released. Gene Clark, the former lead singer of the Byrds in the original incarnation of the band, um, he records like this majestic record. It bombs horribly, spends decades in obscurity. He gets dropped by Asylum Records, and he kind of gets, goes into kind of like a depression afterwards because he couldn't understand because he knew it was a good record. Um, Fast forward 50 years, and 4AD gets a hold of it, 4AD Records, and resurrects it, and it becomes like this giant cult classic. Also, probably in part due to the internet. Um, he was really ahead of the curve here with the whole cosmic country thing. It was really kind of better than anything the Eagles were doing at the time. Um, but bad management and representation killed the record. The story is old as time. Silver Raven is a haunting track that like features great lyrics and great instrumentation. Lady of the North and Some Misunderstanding also expand on that sound and that same mood. It took me until I was like in my mid 40s to discover this record, but I'm really glad that I did. Number 18 is War Babies by Daryl Hall and John Oates. So yeah, Hall and Oates kind of takes a detour from like what they were doing on their first two records, which was kind of like a mix of like folk and soul, Philly soul, into like a glam rock and psychedelic thing that really confused a lot of their fans and their record label because the album bombed. They got dropped by Atlantic, ended up re-signing about a year or so later with RCA. Went back to the Philly soul sound and really kind of took off after that point. But this point, this record was produced by also Philly area, native also Todd Rundgren. Um, it's got a weird reputation among people who were really into Hall and Oates in the 70s. I personally, to me, there is only 70s Hall and Oates. I don't really listen to the other Hall and Oates. It was out when I was a kid. I know the songs. It just doesn't compare to me. But time has really been kind to this record. Um, the album opener is John Oates's track "Can't Stop the Music," which has a really kind of cool Smokey and the Miracles kind of feel to it, yet with a little bit of like a psychedelic kick to it. Beanie G and the Rose Tattoo is a really cool, glammy funk rock song with a really great hook. Johnny Gore and the Sea Eaters is far closer to like Alice Cooper than any of the soul stuff that they were really kind of labeled. It's a really different outlier in their discography. I thought it was kind of an interesting and gutsy move to do at the time. Kind of paid for it, but in the end, it was I think it was the right thing to do because they ended up in the right label and they took off after that. Number 17 is Planet Waves by Bob Dylan. So this album was kind of lost in late. I know the hardcore Dylan people like it, but like the industry and writers and stuff don't really talk about this album very much, which is kind of probably because it was the precursor to Blood on the Tracks. But I don't know. I like Planet Waves. It has Going, Going, Gone on it. It has Wedding Song, both great tracks. And any record containing both Forever Young and Dirge, it's a pretty excellent record. I mean, even for in Dylan's terms. And the fact that the band is backing him on this record just ups the emotional value of basically every song because they're so good at what they do. Uh, but yeah, man, and I really think that Planet Waves is a better Dylan album than its reputation. Number 16 is Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis. So you have Peter Gabriel's swan song with Genesis. It's a very daring, brooding, uh, beautiful record with a lot of Genesis classics on it. I mean, for instance, like Fly on the Windscreen, Fly on the Windshield, Carpet Crawlers, In the Cage, the title track, of course, all featuring like a career-defining drum performance by Phil Collins on this record. I think this is where Phil Collins got that sound, that feel that like you hear it, yep, that's Phil Collins on drums. Um, and Peter Gabriel's inspired vocals are far and away his greatest achievement that he had done with Genesis up until this point. I mean, I think Lamb That Lies Down on Broadway was a pretty daring record, and it also took a lot of guts to quit after that. But both went on to great careers afterwards, Peter Gabriel solo and Genesis. So number 15 is Axe Victim by Bebop Deluxe, the debut album. Yeah, this record is just a straight up glam rock record. The title track could have totally been a track on Ziggy Stardust or Electric Warrior and would have fit perfectly. Besides the fact that there's really good songs in this record, the next thing that strikes you is the absolute blistering guitar work by Bill Nelson. It's like a cross between like Mick Ronson and Brian May. This is the only record of theirs that sounds like this, as they never really kind of stood in the same place very long, which I always think is cool. Adventures in a Yorkshire Landscape and the title track are my two favorite tracks on the album. Number 14 is Too Much by New York Dolls, the second and last. Well, correction, last from the original lineup. So I mean, it's not as good as the debut. It was kind of hard to do, right? Still sloppy as shit, still a killer rock and roll record. A little bit more of a 60s girl group flavor on this one, but it definitely works. There was definitely Johansson's hand in that. Babylon and Who Are the Mystery Girls are just classic Dolls. But I think personally though, the Johnny Thunders track, Chatterbox, kind of steals the show. Number 13 is Desolation Boulevard by The Sweet. Now, it's kind of messy because I think Desolation Boulevard has different tracks depending on where you live. And I think it also is a compilation album in some countries, and in some countries it's considered a proper release. So I'm counting it. This was the first Sweet album that I got, and still like it a lot, obviously. Um, Glam rock legends, armed with killer rock tunes and vocal harmonies that were more than rivaled Queen, to be honest with you. I mean, you can go back and listen to like YouTube and listen to Sweet play live, 100% live, and those harmonies you hear on the record are pretty goddamn close live for Sweet. Not an easy thing to do. Of course, it has Ballroom Blitz on it, which was the big hit for them, but it also has the 16s, Solid Gold Brass, and No You Don't. All just great killer rock tunes. Number 12 is Hotter Than Hell by Kiss, the second Kiss record. This record sounds horrendous. Recorded so badly. There is a remixed version that someone got a hold of on YouTube that someone, probably not with permission, but they did it, and it sounds so much better. That being said, somehow these songs cut through the muck. A lot of I know Kiss is a polarizing band, but in a lot of ways, Kiss really started off my love of music as being my first band, the first band that I got into as a very young kid. But look, I mean, the record contains Got to Choose, Watching You, and Strange Ways. Most Kiss fans will say they're three of their best tracks. And speaking of Kiss, number 11 is going to be the debut, the self-titled album by Kiss. So this one is a lot different than the second one. The second one kind of leans into the heavy thing, kind of get a little bit darker, kind of lean into the Sabbathy mountain type stuff. This first one is much closer to the Dolls and Slade. It's much more of like a glam rock record, which I think is awesome, of course. It contains no less than 6 songs that they played almost every single night for 50 years. Strutter, Deuce, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, Firehouse, Cold Gin. I mean, not many bands who are around for 50 years can find 5, 6 songs off their first album and play them every single night, and the crowd be satisfied with that. Yeah, I mean, it's a great rock and roll record. These first few Kiss records are actually really good rock and roll records if you just strip away the other stuff. If you're not into that, the songs are there. Number 10 is going to be Burn by Deep Purple. His first album with a then unknown David Coverdale, who comes in to replace Ian Gillan, along with Trapeze bassist Glenn Hughes and singer, who comes in to replace Roger Glover. And I got to tell you, it's a spectacular results here. One of the greatest hard rock albums, in my opinion, of the 70s. The musicianship, the vocals are insane. I mean, Coverdale and Hughes together in one band. Sail Away, Mistreated, and the title track Burn are just 3 of the best Deep Purple songs from any era. And like I just said, I just think it's one of the best hard rock albums of the entire decade. Number 9 is Nightlife by Thin Lizzy. This is the first Thin Lizzy album to contain what would become the classic lineup with the twin guitar attack of Brian Robertson and Scott Gorham. On this one, Phil kind of leans into his R&B tastes, which is much different than a lot of the other Thin Lizzy records. There's still some hard rockers on here, don't get me wrong, but there's a couple of things like Still in Love with You, which is a really, really good track. One of my favorite Thin Lizzy tracks. But that being said, my preferred version is the version that's on the Live and Dangerous album. It's just probably Phil Lynotte's best vocal performance. And the guitar solos in that song by Robertson and Gorham on the live version are insane. I'm not sure, I have to double check, but I think that Gary Moore might actually play guitar on the studio version. Number 8 is Radio City by Big Star. So Big Star reluctantly carries on after Chris Bell leaves the band, which was one half of the vocal and songwriting team. Alex Chilton kind of steers them into like some wider horizons. They open up their sound a little bit more. I just think the sound of this record, production wise, is so good. Just the guitar tones, especially on like "Oh My Soul," are just to die for. Jody Stevens is drumming on this record, just ass kicking. I'm in Love with a Girl, very classic Big Star track, September Girls. But I mean, the whole album is really just great. I mean, if you're not familiar with Big Star, most people are at this point, but if you're not and you like power pop, kind of like a little bit of like an indie flavor even before indie existed, give Big Star a shot. Number 7 is going to be Taking Tiger Mountain by Brian Eno. It's Eno's second solo record. It's also his second album of 1974. Get to that later. But he makes a massive creative leap on the second record. We'll talk about the first one shortly. But on this one, I mean, I think the Fat Lady of Limburg is just genius. And once you listen to it, you will never get it out of your head. I guarantee you it will be stuck in your head. Third Uncle is unnerving as unnerving as it is pulsating. Made famous by later on in the early 80s by Bauhaus. The entire record plays as almost like a blueprint for British 80s alt rock. You can hear the influence that this record had on all of those bands. It's very cool. Number 6 is going to be Old New Borrowed in Blue by Slade. This is another band that also had 2 albums out this particular year. I will also champion this band every time I talk about them. I think they're criminally overlooked. I think songwriting wise, they are impeccable. I think Noddy Holder is a great rock singer. And this particular album contains the song Every Day, which I think should be world known. It's probably it's could you could make the argument it's the first power ballad. I mean, if you listen to it, you could pick that song up, throw it in the 80s, and would have been a hit then also. It's just simple and beautiful. Piano, great lyrics, great hook, great vocal. Slade. Number 5 is Slade in Flame by Slade. This record is kind of like the soundtrack to Slade's version of Hard Day's Night, which was called Slade in Flame. It contains even more great songwriting. I think, no, I'm pretty sure that I feel that the track How Does It Feel? I mean, it's beautifully written, beautifully arranged with strings, and I think it's their crowning achievement. I mean, I really think it's a great, great song. The song Far, Far Away is another one of those songs that's like an earworm. You'll never get out of your head, but it is a great song. It should have been a hit single. Number 4 is Here Come the Warm Jets by Brian Eno, his first album of the year and his first solo record. It comes right on the heels of after him leaving Roxy Music. It's all totally ironic because Eno cannot play an instrument, yet he proceeds to create this monster record. It's just genius. The album opener, Needle in a Camel's Eye, it's kind of like the Beach Boys in platform shoes on acid. Baby's on Fire, featuring Robert Fripp, it's just a glam rock classic. And the title track, which has a great riff that just slides. It just sounds like it's interstellar. But what's most impressive about the record is that despite the insanity going wrong in the background, it's still an incredibly accessible pop record. If you haven't heard it, check it out. I mean, I think it's a must listen. Here Come the Warm Jets, Brian Eno. Number 3 is The Hoople by Mott the Hoople. So this is Mott's final album. Mott the Hoople's final album. They went Ian Hunter quits. The rest of them go on to become Mott, most of them. But this is the final album of the original Amazing Run. There's a group of songs on here to die for, a mix to die for. I mean, production wise, it just sounds amazing. Take your pick, every single song on the album. And one of those albums that just would have been number 1 in so many other years, but the top 2 were, it's tough. From Golden Age to rock and roll, to the glam stomp of Pearl and Roy, to the moving tribute by Ian Hunter to his wife called Trudy Song, the crunch of Crash Street Kids, the mad theatrics of Marionette, and of the monster closer, Roll Away the Stone. It's just one of the greatest final albums of all time, and one of the greatest rock albums, period, to me. I love Mott the Hoople, and I think that's a great, great album. Number 2. Now, okay, so I went into this, and I hadn't decided which was going to be number 1, which was going to be number 2. So I'm going to do it, and look, I'll probably change my mind 100 times on this one. So for the sake of argument, I'm just going to do this. It's kind of a tie for number 1, and I know I can't have a tie for number 1, so I'm putting this one at number 2, even though it's a tie for number 1. 1A and 1B, okay? Number 2 is Diamond Dogs by David Bowie. Hard to believe this is not number 1. Whatever. So Bowie kills off Ziggy, fires the spiders, finds his baritone in his voice, spreads his wings on this apocalyptic masterpiece. The Sweet Thing Sweet is one of Bowie's crowning achievements, vocal-wise, arrangement-wise, and songwriting-wise. Everybody knows Rebel Rebel. Meanwhile, Rock and Roll With Me and 1984 start to give you a little bit of a glimpse where Bowie was going on his next album with Young Americans. A little bit of that soul flavor that he's kind of throwing in there. Um, we Are the Dead is most likely the darkest Bowie gets lyrically in his pre-Berlin years, anyway. Big Brother is just an album showstopper. It's awesome, so good. The hook could go on for 10 minutes, and I would never ever get tired of it. I just love that song. Uh, so, I mean, I guess Diamond Dogs is where the world first got to hear that Bowie wasn't going to cater to people, not even his fans, not to the industry. He was not going to cater to anybody artistically. Um, and now with Ziggy dead and out of the way, the future was very, very bright for Mr. Bowie going forward. Number one is going to be Country Life by Roxy Music. I guess, I think Country Life is probably the most sensual of the Roxy records. It contains the most incredible musicianship of all the Roxy records. It opens up with the dark and mysterious thrill of it all. Paul Thompson's drums on this track are absolutely brutal. Brian Ferry's Fender Rhodes piano is stellar. Andy Mackay's sax is powerful. Paul Gustafson's bass playing is incredible. Phil Manzanera's guitar drives the vehicle but does not overwhelm the song. And then Eddie Jobson's heavenly string arrangement. There's so much going on. It's euphoric. And I just described track one. So I'm going to wax poetic here about one of my favorite bands, favorite albums here. I'm not going to go too crazy because we do have a Roxy album ranking coming up in the near future. So 3 and 9 has a very different arrangement, with Ferry playing a very smooth harmonica over Manzanera's acoustic guitar strumming and Jobson synths. All I Wanted Is You was a huge hit in the UK. Out of the Blue is one of my top favorite songs of all time. And without a doubt, a massive influence on the young future members of Duran Duran. So mysterious, ethereal, pulsating. Every aspect of the song is just magical to me. Thompson is a monster on the kit yet again. I mean, Paul Thompson is just so underrated as a drummer. And you know, because you had all these other drummers in the 70s, like Bonham and Moon, and you know, I think that Thompson's better. Sorry, my opinion. I know I'm going to get comments for that one, but I do. I think Paul Thompson's better. Um, every aspect of the song. Manzanera is just destroying it on the tremolo bar throughout the whole song. Eddie Jobson's electric violin solo is one of the greatest, most orgasmic solo, and most orgasmic solos in any song on any instrument. I love it. I love the sound of it. I love the performance of it. Bittersweet is a majestic composition with German flavor, German lyrics in part of it. Casanova is a funky little biting tune. The album closes out with Prairie Rose, which is one of their best rock songs. The song is kind of rumored to be about a tribute to the women of Texas. I don't know. Manzanera's and Mackay solos on that one are just so good. So good. Then comes the great sing-along chorus that just takes the entire record out. Such an incredible record. It was released when I was 8 months old. So I kind of feel gypped in the way that I didn't experience these Roxy records in real time. But I'm equally just as grateful that these records even exist, and they've been a part of my life for so long now. So there you go. Top 25 records of 1974. I'm going to try and do 1975. I think before the winter is over. I usually just kind of jump out of the 70s when spring comes? Don't ask. I have a really weird thing with the seasons and music. So we still have 1989 we have to do, and then we'll start the 90s, which should be interesting. Because I've always been of the mind that I'm not sure I can find 25 albums in each of the 90s years. Let's see if I can prove myself wrong. Dr. Bird and I next week will be doing the Roxy Music album ranking, which could get a little talky because I love Roxy Music so much. But yeah, hopefully you guys can check that out and check out all of our other videos. You know, we've done 1971, 2, 3, and now 4. We did 1979. We did all the way up to 1980 in the top 25 records. We have a whole bunch of album rankings we've done with great bands: Jesus and Mary Chain, Psychedelic Furs, um, The Cure, Mott the Hoople. List goes on and on. Check out go to the channel, check out all the videos. If you like what we've been watching, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, check out all of our social media pages. Every night I do a album of the night or tonight's listening. I post it. We all talk about the album. If you like that kind of thing, check us out on Facebook and Instagram and X. And see you next time on Dead End Street. Thanks for watching.